guys, Matt Anderson here. We are going to do what is called gut talk today. Have a just constant inquiries are coming in, which are awesome and great, and which we love, and so we just want to see if we can help provide some light and answer a couple of these questions here. Um, so what I like to do with acquisitions, mergers and acquisitions, I'm by far, from actually being the expert, the best one out there, and I believe that you don't want to be the smartest one in the room, right? You want to surround yourself by others that are smarter than yourself, and because that constantly is going to make you better. So with that being said, and with what everything that's been going on right now with the economy and everything like that, I feel like it's a great time to be in this sector, in this industry, of mergers and acquisitions. No matter where you are, I feel that there is more benefit, more pros than there are cons to going out and in this direction. And one of them being is that you're coming into businesses that are already cash flowing, right? Again, I like to stress to individuals that we're not pinpointing um, distressed businesses. We're not pinpointing people that are in dire straits and don't have any other options. There's very little no money out of pocket deals that are out there. They're out there, but there's very little now. There's no money. There's deals that could be no money out of your pocket. Um, there's more of those, but there's definitely money down, and there's going to be money to the seller at close, whether it's some sort of seller financing or whatever that may be. But no money to seller at close, there's very few of those. So I kind of want to debunk that and get that out, because there's a lot of people that sell that concept to sell coaching and things along those lines that really isn't right. And it's not right in the industry. It's not done, and then people have this false notion, and they're constantly searching for something that's really not there. And when they do find it, it's not the type of deal that they're looking for or would like to get into. Um, so with that being said, where do you find good deals? And when I say a good deal, where do you find a company that's well rounded, that has the revenue? Where do you find um, individuals that want to speak to you? Where can you find someone that wants to speak to you? You get on the phone with that person, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm interested in an acquisition. I'm interested in a strategic partnership." That's so much more relieving and less stress than speaking to someone who doesn't want to speak to you, because that conversation is not going far, right? And so, what I would challenge is that work on the mindset of speaking to an owner, being upfront, and stating first what it is you're looking to accomplish, but also how you can bring them value. So we'll just kind of throw out some examples. So one would be, talking to an owner. It's like, "Hi, my name is Matt Anderson. I reached out to you recently. You said that you are possibly interested in a strategic partnership and or acquisition. And yeah, I'll definitely look into it." And it's like, well, here I work with an investment team, and what our job is to bring you as much value as possible. Now, when I speak to these business owners, a lot of the time, the business owner themselves is they have a lot of obstacles and different things along those lines. And some of those obstacles are, my company's my baby. I started my company. The employees were like a family. We're close knit, and with that being said, they have these apprehensions of wanting to move forward, and so with those apprehensions, I want to break those walls down. I want to bring them down, and we're not here to negotiate, but to collaborate is really the goal of this conversation. And so when I speak to these business owners, I ask questions, and sometimes it doesn't take a lot to get them just to vomit all this information on you. And it's not a bad thing. It's a really great thing. And I think the hardest part is reminding myself to shut up, is to be quiet and to listen. and to listen actively to what they're saying, not to listen with intent of this is what I'm going to say next, but to listen to what they're saying and have a real conversation with a real person. Because outside of their business, not all of them, but a lot of these business owners have lives. They have other ambitions, you know. They have other dreams, visions of going to do other things, whether it's travel the United States in an RV and hit up every national park, or if it's to have a beach house, a second home, move closer to grandkids, whatever that may be. They had a business for a reason. Now, mind you, there are businesses out there and business owners that they love what they do. Their their whole persona is what they do, is what it is they do for work. That's what defines them. But I'd say the majority out there that at least I've spoken to, this doesn't define them. This has been a passion project or something along those lines, but they're ready for next stages. At least at some point they will be. I've spoken to a couple that say I'll do this till the day I die, or it's a family legacy business or things along those lines. That's fine. It's just a matter of you want to find that out as soon as possible. And then once you can find that out and really nail that down, then you know how to best move forward. So I'm just trying to think of an example. Um, okay. Excuse me. So there's a gentleman I spoke with the other day. He owns it's a manufacturing facility that's on the East Coast, and what they do manufacturing for is for doctors that specifically are doing anesthetics, so anesthesiologists and along those lines. And so this gentleman, I was speaking to him, and I said, how long have you been in business? So he's been in business over, I want to say it's over 30, no, yeah, over 34 years he's had the business. And he started that business with a couple different partners. Before that, he was already in the sector, doing business, but working for someone else. So he's working for someone else, 12 years before that. Then he started his own business with some partners. And then the last 34 years, over time, those partners have been bought out by him. They've left. And so what he is doing right now is he works statewide, nationally, and internationally. And what he's doing is he will get business from individuals that want custom instruments made. And so they're constantly developing new instruments as medical gets better. And what he wants to do is, because he's wearing multiple hats, within his company. And so what he wants to do is spend full time, and he loves talking to the clients. He loves being in the operating room. He loves understanding. He loves having, how he described it to me, as having a little clay mold, and he's like an artist, like just saying, okay, we need a little more, and almost developing the instruments that's needed and understanding it while taking notes and pictures and things like that, so he can then take it back to the manufacturing facility where they could design and make a mold or a replica or whatever that may be, to get them passed off, and then get the order, and then do a production of those, right? And then depending on the need of that, they might see where that might be needed elsewhere, and then resell it to other hospitals or Instacare centers or anything along those lines, right? And so it's really interesting speaking to this gentleman, because he's older. He's probably in his late 60s, early 70s, and so I'm asking him, well, what would a perfect transition look like for you? And he's like, well, transition meaning, if we were to come in and acquire the company, would he stay on for a couple of years and help out, or would he want to leave on day one? This is usually what I'm thinking, right? Because this is usually what people want. They usually want out right away, or they'll say, hey, I'll stay on a couple more years, whatever that may look like. Now I spoke to him, and he said, no, I would like to stay on permanently. He's like, I know you might not want to keep me on because you want to take the company to the next level, and maybe my thought process. He's like, but that's fine. He's like, I'd like to stay on to some capacity where I could be involved in the sales, work with the clients, do the sculpturing and the designing, because that's really, excuse me. He's like, that's really what I love to do. And it's like, you know what, I think we can help you out there, so COVID really hit them hard. It shut them down. But now that they're up and running, I mean, he said they got an order from Haiti, just a couple weeks ago. They could not fulfill it for certain reasons. No, they could fulfill it, but they actually were skeptical on how Haiti would be able to pay them out, right? And to be able to compensate them for that process. And so they decided not to go forward with the order. So I mean, there's a lot of logistics, different things administratively that can be done and fine tuned that could really help that company out and just breaking into other networks also outside of where they're at. And so on that phone call, we're explaining to this gentleman, hey, I'm here to provide as much value as possible. And with that value, it's we want to grow above and beyond where you currently stand. We don't want to take away anything. I mean, there might be some changes that are needed, but they've gotten to where they are for some reason, right? And we're contacting them for another reason that they've done a good job doing what they've done. And it's like, hey, we want to take you to that next level. We just want to create value above and beyond that. Because again, going back to these companies that are trying to create a legacy of sorts or anything along those lines, they don't want employees let go. They don't want to, tarnish their name because they might be smaller towns and things like that. But it's a matter of how can we best help the business owner overcome those obstacles and making it a win-win for everyone, right? Because this gentleman I spoke to, he's looking to exit, right? But exit to the sense of cash out, whether that's for a retirement or something along those lines, but he wants to stay involved in the business. And to me, that's amazing because he knows the business best. He might not have the best marketing or things along those lines, but we can bring that in. But talking to the clients and wanting to work with them and then staying on board to continually be able to train and help out that way, I think that's super valuable. And unless this gentleman turns out just to be not so bueno, right? um, but there's some really good things there, and so with that being said, it's great to know what he wants, and then to say, okay, this is what I need from you, and he poured out everything to me, and so listening and saying, okay, I think we definitely can help out, but I like to let him know also. I was like, but worst case scenario, let's say that it's not a good fit, it's not a win-win for each party here, then I can at least get you connected to some other individuals that could help you out, and he was more than grateful. He's like, great, that's wonderful. I'd love to see what we can make work, because he's not in dire straits. He doesn't need help financially, where he's like, I need to do something now, but he is open to saying, I realize that I need help strategically, because he got into the business doing what he loves, and he continues to do what he loves. But he's like, oh, but I have to look over the accounting aspect of it. I have to do the hiring and the firing. I have to watch over the buying of new machines and things along those lines and processes. And he's like, he didn't want all that came with it, and he made it work, and the company's done well, but he just wants to do what he loves to do. And so, really, it's been an eye opener for him, but it was a great call because we were able to go over a couple good things that could help address what he sees as large obstacles, and the guy has hope. and we want to help him out as much as possible, even if that doesn't include, us in the picture in the end. And so, what I let him know is I said, hey, so we can get going on this process and come back to you and let you know if we can best help you out and present an offer of sorts or not. Um, this is what I need. I need your last 3 years of profit and loss statements, balance sheets, and taxes. Okay? So, just sent up a follow-up with him today and everything, just waiting to get that from him so we can kind of hit the ground running. And that's just kind of an example of what we've done. Now, I'm just kind of thinking out loud here what I might start doing. Excuse me. What I might start doing is talking to this gentleman. I might start. I need to find out about recording calls, but I might just see about, can I record these calls that I do and just take out specific, information or blurb those out and some editing or something along those lines and just post my calls, or what that may look like. And so I might look into that. So we can start sharing those with you and just see how can we do it legally, ethically, and morally, just so you can have these live examples instead of me just telling you my stories of what I remember from my calls, right? I reached out to another gentleman. He runs a multi-service company. He has 4 locations. He's closer on the East Coast. It's a multi-service, meaning tax returns, income, with income tax, bill pay, cashing checks, different things along those lines. And so he has 4 different locations. It's mostly Spanish, but they're bilingual. And that's all right with me because excuse me, I speak Spanish. But with that being said, he is interested in selling his company. And so I flat out asked him in the email. And just said, hey, you know what? Because I was short on time that day, I had a lot going on, but I wanted to get in touch. I said, hey, let me just get you some preliminary questions beforehand, so we kind of make sure that we're a best fit for you and you for us moving forward. And I said, what's your EBITDA, versus your annual recurring revenue, and how much do you feel your company's worth? And so his EBITDA was over 400,000. He was approaching. He expected throughout the end of the year to be just under $500,000, and he wants 600,000 for his company. He has 4 locations and he leases all of them. Like, okay, there could be something there, right? And I mean, it's not a huge business, but it doesn't seem to have a ton of overhead for what they do. And so obviously you want to trust but verify, right? So let's get the numbers, let's get everything from him to verify that, and that's what we're waiting for right now. But got on the phone with him, great guy. He's actually looking to get out of the business, just because he's older. He's been doing it for 17 plus years, and has been doing it a while, and just looking to retire, spend more time with his family, and everything along those lines. And so it's, there could have been a lot of beating around the bush, but just asked him straight up and he answered. There's another gentleman that, in this, that I reached out to, and he's like, hey, they sell pontoon boats. They're a manufacturer, right? This is actually a really large business. And he's like, yeah, we've actually talked to people in the past, but they didn't want to pay what we were asking. I was like, well, what was that? And he's like, $500 million. And and so I was asking him about it, and I said, well, do you have the numbers to back it up? And he's like, we do. We have the work orders and things along those lines. We don't have it in. We haven't done it yet. And so they're asking for money on future orders. And it's like, okay. I can see why someone wouldn't pay for that, but I can see where your justification's coming from. These are thoughts, right, that I have in my mind, and I asked, well, what's your EBITDA? What are you doing right now? You know, I mean, their annual revenue is probably 350 million, I believe, if I remember correctly, and their EBITDA at this point is about 29 million is what they're doing. And so he's like, yeah, I think we might just hold on to it for a couple more years where we believe we could get that 500 million mark, or we could make that, and sell the business. It's like, yeah, no, that's probably a great idea. You could do that. But if I find anyone, that might be interested in that and and willing to pay what you're talking about, just because how the market is and things along those lines, there are people out there that will pay those premiums. Can I reach back out to him? He's like, yeah, no worries. And so we left it there, and that was a couple weeks ago actually. And I actually had a gentleman reach out to me this morning out of my buyer's pool. So if you've seen on some of my past segments, I kind of show you how I've kind of structured who I work with and how I contact and things along those lines. And so there's a gentleman from this buyer's pool that he has his own set of buyers that he does finder's fees for. And I sent this company, pontoon boat manufacturer, out to him a while ago, and I told him, he had someone looking, but they since have left. He feels that they should get this much, but he might be over asking a little bit. But if you have anyone that's interested, let me know. He just came back to me. Again, this was a couple weeks back, almost 3 weeks probably. He came back to me and said, hey, I think I got a buyer for your company. And so I just contacted the guy today to let him know, I think we have someone. They know your expectation, but, if everything checks out, they have the expectation to pay that 500 million mark, and they have the means of doing so. And I don't know much more if they're in the pontoon boat business already and be combining business, things along those lines or not, kind of a roll up. But it's just there's deals out there everywhere, and it's just like selling a home. If you don't get a bite on the first 2 or 3 people, you're like, sometimes you get distraught. You're like, what the heck? My dreams are slipping away. But really, it's you could have 30, 40 people walk through or see this deal, and then you have someone that hits. And so it's a matter of getting it out there, getting it in front of people. But we don't want to do a spray and pray approach either. You don't want to just throw it out where it's frantic and out of control. You want to have defined systems in place and accountability. So people that you're giving this stuff to are people that you trust. You don't just want to give it to anyone, because it's that trust is reciprocal, and so you want to keep that and work and keep your friends close, and who you're doing business with, and you don't want to go down these rabbit holes that look good and they feel good, but nothing ever comes of them. And you do a couple of those, you've wasted a lot of time. Because time is your greatest asset. I mean, in anywhere, in any business, but time is your greatest asset. And so we want to use that to the best of our ability. So those are some ideas of what we've done with some certain companies, and we'll continue to talk about those on, and other deals that we've done on other segments and people we've talked to. But I think the biggest thing is without the deal flow, you're dead, like we've talked about before. And if you're able to get that deal flow and bring it in, you can you can put these tasks to other people to vet, to talk to do certain things for you. And if you do something along those lines, to have a virtual assistant or something like that, yeah, it does cost money, but you could do it. You could get a good assistant that does well for you for about $400 a month. Now, I don't know about you. For me, it's worth it. It's definitely worth it to do that, because it allows me to do a lot of other things outside of this that I'd like to go do. And if I have tasks that need to be done, throw them over to my assistants to get those done for me, right? And then they'll give it to me, and I can relay that. obviously check it, make sure it's done correctly and done well. But soon as you get a system going, it's a lot less than paying a secretary, and it might not be in person, but everything's been done over Zoom anyways. And have a meeting once in a while from that assistant, with that VA that you have, and see if it works or not. But it's definitely worked for me, and it's done well. And you can try out these assistants. What do you have to lose, right? Try a week. Pay $100 for a week. It's no fast food for that week. I'm sorry, okay, but pay $100 for that week. Try your assistant out. Give them some assignments. Now you need to give them assignments and give them things done, and show them a workflow of how to do that, and kind of have a flow chart of how it needs to be done. Um, because you can find some good ones. They're going to be a little more expensive, but if you're paying $400 a month, these are going to be people that are going to be doing secretarial work, and not so much thinking outside the box. They're just going to do what you tell them to do, right? And that's great, and that's what we want. But you're going to have a good process to help them put that together, okay? But really, with everything that we've been talking about, making sure that your time is carefully allotted and put together, because it is your greatest asset. Talking to business owners and listening to them, asking good questions. You can even have a couple written down. Do you do Zoom or do you do a phone call with these business owners? Most of the time, I do a phone call. I don't do Zoom, because I know sometimes it's like, I'm meeting a person I don't know, and it's on the phone call. So it could be kind of different and weird. But that's how I feel, and so I sometimes wonder, well, maybe for them, they might feel the same, right? And so a phone call, I can get to know them. And I would say at the end of every call, whether we end up moving forward or not, we have a good conversation, and we both know each other is human, and I believe that we speak to each other that way, right? And we treat each other as human beings. But we do understand what each other is looking for, and if we can help provide value or not. If we can, what does that look like, right? And so organization is key doing something like this. If you can keep things organized and up to date, and you can keep on top of those items, that is what is huge in a business like this. If you cannot, and things start slipping through the cracks, that's money that's slipping through the cracks. Um, Really, who is it? There's one of my mentors out there. He keeps saying, he's like, hey, you're only one deal away, to some of these newbies that are coming in, and that's really what it is you're only one deal away, because a deal that pays you, a lot of times it's equivalent to a year's salary for most people, right? You're high five figures, low six figures, sometimes more than that. Sometimes you get in the 7-figure range, just for finder's fees. Okay, these are finder's fees. These are introductions of bringing a buyer and a seller. No broker involved. Just say, hey, I'm going to introduce you guys. Let's get on a phone call, and they'll pay you a percentage of the purchase price of the business upon a successful acquisition of the company. So it's non-binding. They're not in any contract with you. Only for anything that you brought the buyer or the seller that comes from me or from you, they would be under contract to pay you. But anything outside of that, it's not exclusivity or anything like that. It's a non-exclusive, non-binding finder's fee agreement. Okay? And if you have questions about wanting an agreement template or anything like that, let me know. We can send something over to you. Just make some comments below. Again, we're here to help out. Collaboration, not competition. It's not an everybody wins mentality, because not everybody does win. It's definitely the minority. But part of this is to fish out the minority, those people that actually want to take action and move forward and learn. We're willing to work with you. We're willing to work together. Everything's negotiable, so come at me, negotiate, see what we can do, and how we can best move forward. But That's really what we want to do is create a community where we can help each other out and close deals. Happy deal hunting. We'll be in touch here soon.